St. Elmo's Fire is a pretty interesting one. It's odd. It's really it's really a strange film. I'd been interested to watch it for a long time, very curious about it because every review that I've ever seen of the film, or if I ever hear people talking about the film, which is kind of rare nowadays, it used to be a beloved film, and now you really don't see it mentioned too much. But whenever I'd hear people talk about the film or see reviews about it online, they'd be talking about how unlikable every single character was. Like it was a uniform opinion. Like everybody had it. It was a very widespread opinion that these were the most unlikable characters ever. So I was like, wow, I really want to see that. I really want to see that movie. Especially knowing that it still is, looking back, one of the most important coming of age films of the 80s. You know, this is 1985. Uh, John Hughes, Cameron Crowe, and Joel Schumacher were at one point all working within the same office building. At one point, they were all under one roof, and they all came to define the 80s youth character in a very, very large ways and very distinct and unique ways for all three of them. Joel Schumacher directed this film. He also co-wrote it with his assistant. But I was really interested to check it out because I was like, what the hell? How is this movie that apparently is notorious, infamous for having the most unlikable characters ever? Um, how was it so beloved? Why did people hold it in such high regard? Why is it seen as so important? Why did it make such a splash if they're so unlikable? So I was interested in it. Also, Joel Schumacher interests me. I don't think he's like a great director or anything, but I think he was certainly a valuable one. There were interesting things that he'd do. Uh, I mostly don't like his films, to be honest with you. But he had a voice. He had a unique voice, a unique philosophy, and I do sort of miss him a little bit. When Schumacher was shopping around the script for St. Elmo's Fire, he claims that he was rejected tons and tons and tons of times. And even back then, the reasons that they were rejected, like studio execs said, these these are the most these are the seven most unlikable characters I've ever read on a page. You know, even back then, the characters were viewed as unlikable. I don't think that the characters were deliberately designed to be unlikable. I think they were designed to be truthful, and that's blemishes, bruises, and all. You know, they're supposed to be extremely flawed individuals, extremely real ones. I think St. Elmo's Fire is definitely one of Joel Schumacher's best films. His best film is probably The Lost Boys still. But St. Elmo's Fire is very interesting. There's an interesting thing going on here, and we're going to analyze it for a few minutes today. Tells the story of what happens after college, of seven friends and their misadventures post Georgetown, after graduating from Georgetown. A lovely ensemble cast featuring Ali Sheedy, who I think shines brightest of them all. I really liked Ali Sheedy in this film, but it has Ali Sheedy, Judd Nelson, Andrew McCarthy, Rob Lowe, Demi Moore, Emilio Estevez, yeah, just to name a few. Andy McDowell? Andy McDowell's here, being super pretty. Emilio is a stalker who thinks he lives in a Woody Allen movie. Judd Nelson plays a guy called Alec, who is a political sellout, and he is cheating uncontrollably all the time, unforgivably, on Ali Sheedy's character. Andrew McCarthy is partly misanthropic, lovelorn, struggling writer who has a secret love for Ali Sheedy's character. Ali Sheedy and Andrew McCarthy's character, they sleep together, which causes a lot of fun drama. I love my love triangles. Judd Nelson and Ali Sheedy are pretty great in this film. I love the argument they have when she goes back to the apartment to get her records because Judd Nelson kicked her out once Ali Sheedy said like, "What are we gonna do about your extracurricular activities? What are you gonna do about how you like cheat on me?" So Judd Nelson says, "Get out of my apartment." And then she goes to Kevin, played by Andrew McCarthy, his house, and he's secretly been in love with her forever. And they have like a fun, confusing, but romantic night together. Alec obviously finds out about this. And when Ali Sheedy comes back to get her records, Alec is there, Judd's there. He's like, can't believe you fucked Kevin. And she's like, you fucked many. And he goes, many faceless women. You fucked a real person. Like and the characters are extremely unlikable here. It's wild. It's really interesting and weird. It's weird how unlikable they are. Rob Lowe, okay? Rob Lowe plays a guy called Billy who is not only nostalgic, he's downright mournful for the loss of his frat boy glory days. He's extremely like aggressive with women, and especially like the women who are his friends who do have a tenderness for him. There's a heartbreaking scene where Demi Moore's character is trying to open up to him as they're parked in front of Billy's like apartment that I think he's staying in at the moment. Uh, for the time Billy's hard to keep up with like where he's living, but it's got his wife inside with the baby, and he had promised to the wife and the baby that he's done with all the women and all the drugs and stuff. And Demi Moore is trying to like she really needs a friend because her character's on the verge of suicide, and uh, Billy is like. No, how about I just fuck you and stuff? And like he gets so aggressive. He gets so aggressive. It's wild because because why? That's such a choice. Such a choice. And because she's like, I said no, and Billy goes, um, well, you can't say no like with my tongue in your mouth, and then forces a kiss on her, and then he like takes her keys and puts it down his pants, and then like wrestles with her outside of the car while she's trying to get the keys, and she's like, I really just needed a friend tonight. I really just needed a friend. And then, of course, Billy's wife with the baby is like watching it all, and they're like, "Oh, you fucking asshole." Billy, Billy, Billy. Yes, Demi Moore plays a woman called Jules, who is like an uber yuppie, the most materialistic character within the film. Um, Her and Billy's arc at least peak and end together in probably the most important scene in the whole film and what we're going to base our reading of the film on. This is why I think the film's interesting. Jules attempts to freeze to death, tries to kill herself because like the weight of the real world is just crushing down upon her, like financial burdens and romantic heartaches, all those sorts of things. And all the friends get together to try to save her, and it ends up with Billy and Jules alone in a room together, and Billy's like opening up to her, and it's where we get the true philosophy of the film and why I do think it's interesting. I have a complicated relationship with how I feel about this movie. It's just complicated, I guess. He's trying to console her, trying to open up to her, and this is where he says. This smells to me like a little bit of self-created drama. I should know. I've been starring in a few of my own. This isn't real. You know what it is? It's St. Elmo's fire. The electric flashes of light that appear in skies out of nowhere. The sailors would guide entire journeys by it. The joke was on them. There was no fire. There wasn't even a St. Elmo. They made it up because they thought they needed it to keep them going when things got tough. Just like you're making up all of this. We're all going through this. Here's where the film gets interesting. Like, the primary question we need to be asking ourselves is, why are these characters so unlikable? Right? They weren't deliberately designed to be so. You don't deliberately set out to create the seven most unlikable characters ever and then force the audience to interact with them nonstop. You don't do that. That's not something you intend to do. So, what makes them unlikable? Well, obviously, they're kind of narcissistic and selfish tendencies. Um, the betrayals, uh, the way they appear blind to each other's needs, right? The way they seem to be acting like teenagers, like college kids, even. Back when drama wasn't self created, it was self generating. There's a difference. Because when we're with Billy, and he's the most clear in this sort of symbolism because he misses the glory days of the frat house so much that he goes back to the frat house and is like soaking up the love and adoration with the newbies there. Billy liked when things got out of hand, and things are getting out of hand for him after he's graduated in the events of St. Elmo's fire. He's constantly getting out of hand. But it's not cute anymore. It's dangerous now. It's selfish now. It has new vicious and unlikable dimensions. Yet if he was doing this within the college framework, he'd be a hero, he'd be championed, and he'd be celebrated. But he's just a loser. That's St. Elmo's Fire. That's the fakery of self-created drama. The love triangle between Leslie, Alec, and Kevin is one that's ripped straight out of the pages of a YA novel. It has that sort of deepness to it, which is to say, it's not very deep. And that each character within the triangle are pretty narcissistic and self centered and deliberately hurtful to each other, right? Something that teenagers or college kids would be doing, but it takes on a different dimension. It assumes a different sort of narrative appearance when it's done by adults, like the characters are in St. Elmo's Fire. Kirby, the stalker who just follows Andy McDowell fucking everywhere, forces kisses on her and stuff. There's a chance that if he had done that in college or in high school, that would appear cute or endearing. As an adult, it appears kind of pathetic and creepy. With Jules, we get the sense that she was a real like troublemaker, like a real firebrand in high school, a real force to be reckoned with. That didn't necessarily have to think or take into account accountability or responsibility or repercussions, right? And suddenly all those things start crashing down around her. She can't act the way that she did in college or in high school because it's taken on new dimensions and new narrative conclusions, because ultimately the narrative conclusion could have ended with her killing herself. The characters in St. Elmo's Fire are so remarkably unlikable because they're still self-creating drama for themselves that they've become comfortable with, and you become comfortable with the drama of your youth, with the drama of your high school and college years, and they're still going through those motions. They're still starring in their own self-created dramas. They guide their lives by it. Like I love that explanation of the title from Billy. Sailors used to guide entire journeys by this, albeit radically intoxicating blue glow of the St. Elmo's fire, but it's still fakery. There's still nothing there, and there was nothing even at the source of the name itself. Like, when you grow up, even when you pass college, you're still guiding your life by the remarkable nothingness of self-created drama, the remarkable fakery of self-created drama, the illusions of dramatic narratives. Like we're still guiding our lives by them, by love triangles, by narcissistic infatuations that we believe our love by thinking that we are the main character in a film that everyone would love and would get rave reviews, right? St. Elmo's Fire is about seven friends, where each person in this friend group has main character syndrome. And I think it's actually really interesting. I think Joel Schumacher was tapping into a pretty interesting philosophical and psychological idea. St. Elmo's Fire is a really confrontational film. I found it to be confrontational because the kind of self-generating, self-created drama, as Joel Schumacher shows us within his work, within this film, it's self-sabotage. It's catastrophic. It's immature. And reaching maturity, of course, is acting with a sort of transcendent dignity that every character in St. Elmo's Fire lacks, because we're all only human. I found it really confrontational because these are all a bunch of unlikable characters, and I see a lot more of myself than I'd like to in so many of them. I felt like it was a really honest movie. And it's really ambitious, daring, fucking takes balls to make a movie with these kinds of unlikable characters doing demonstrably unlikable things, and yet you know the audience will find sensitivity within each one, and it'll confront the audience to be real with themselves, to actually engage with the St. Elmo's fires that rage within us all. St. Elmo's Fire is deeply deeply complicated film about the conflict of maturity, like when you have to be mature, when you don't have the luxury of adolescence, when you have to be mature because you're an adult. St. Elmo's Fire has a unique severity to it. It's a powerful film. And you get these true moments of authenticity within the characters. Like, no one is, I think, 100% unlikable. That's just stupid. There are likable moments from every single one of these characters. And I think every actor did a remarkable job, but I'm probably most impressed by Ali Sheedy and Judd Nelson. They're ridiculously good in the film. And even though the literal romance in the movie is just like St. Elmo's Fire itself. It's not real. Didn't even exist to begin with. And you couldn't even call it love at the end of the day, ultimately. Right? Just like St. Elmo's Fire. Like this movie is pretty complicated and cool. There is a tender love story going on if we actually view it as a group. You know, because we also can't analyze the film um, with narcissistic tendencies, with individual tendencies, right? We can't go character by character by character when there is a love story here, but it's when the group is as a whole, because it's about a friend group coming together at the most significant and intense moments, at the most hypersensitive moments. A friend group coming together and being strong, providing emotional and physical aid to each other. A large part of St. Elmo's Fire is about how ultimately forever gets shorter and shorter and shorter. No one's going to stay friends forever. But for that moment, you had it all, and it was forever for a moment. And then forever got short, and then forever disappeared. There's a lot of cool stuff in St. Elmo's Fire. My relationship with the film, how I feel about it, is like complicated because I think there's a lot of interesting things in it. But I it is a difficult watch sometimes. I think the philosophy of the film has a great amount of integrity. I think it is a sophisticated movie, I do. And I think it should be more beloved today than it currently is. I would consider it like a classic of the coming of age genre, for sure. You know, I think it deserves to be in conversations with the likes of the films of John Hughes and Cameron Crowe, for instance. Brought them up earlier. The parts of the film are a difficult watch. Not everything works, but the film takes so many chances. I'm always impressed when a film takes a lot of chances when it comes to the likability of their characters. and this film took a lot, and you have to wait the entire film until Billy lays down the film's thesis, and then it's only in retrospect, it's only when you're looking back at the events of the film that you're like, "Oh, I get it now. I get it." And it's kinda beautiful. St. Elmo's fire is kind of beautiful.